So this is chapter 1, Mohan. Okay. Power electronic circuits can be classified into 6 types. Again, diode rectifiers, DC converters, DC choppers, DC-AD converters, which are inverters. Okay. That's just a special kind of name that is given. You can even say DC converter. Okay. But sometimes in the interview, you are going to be asked. Okay. Inverters, IC DC converters. Okay. Controlled rectifiers. Okay. This is controlled rectifiers. Some controlled rectifiers, for example, you know, diode rectifiers, if you apply a voltage, you won't get a desired output. Okay. You are going to get a output which is similar to your input. So for example, if we have 230 volts IC, if you use a diode rectifier, you will get close to 220 volts DC or something close, right? Then we have DC converters. Okay, you are trying to convert DC voltage from 5 volts, okay, to 2 volts, something like that. Okay, that's a DC converter. Okay, for example, DC converter in your car. Everyone has a car? No? Have you sat in a taxi, bus? Yes. You have seen radio, Bluetooth radio. It is USB. How much power does a USB use? Voltage. 5 volts. So you have dropped from 12 volt to 5 volts. DC converter. Okay. Even you can have from 5 to 12. Okay. In your car, for example, if you want to put a ice key, you need a DC converter to step it up. That's what a DC converter is. DC-AC converters, inverters, okay. This is normally used for PV array systems, okay. You have your DC coming for your PV array, 200 volts, DC, inverter, your home 240 volts, IC, PV to load, DC, AC, and then IC DC, okay, again you are going to IC to DC, and then IC to AC. So it's like rotating, DC, AC, IC, DC, 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 IC, IC, all these kinds of, all these are made up of power electronic devices. You see, this is all power electronic devices, and then we have static switches, okay. Chapter 1 talks about introduction, power electronic versus linear electronics, scope and applications, classification of power processors and converters, and then some more things about power electronics. Now, what does a power electronic system generally look like? Okay. So let's draw something here now. So first of all, in a power electronic device, we need a source of power, right? For example, I am giving you a general example now. Oh. How does this work? Have to keep it this way. Right from here. Okay. So let's take a general example. We have a generator here. Again, Kinoya. Transmission line, transformer. Okay. We have a transformer here. Drop it down. Comes to your home. Pole mount transformer again. Picks up from your home. You have 240 volts. Okay. You get one line going to your home. Now let's go inside your home. You are sitting near the power point. Okay? You want to charge your phone. So, you have your power input. Okay? Then, you have seen your charger? Yes? In this book, it says it's a power processor. Okay? So again in your power processor, what are you going to have? Another transformer? To get your voltage down from 240 volts to 5 volts. Okay? And then this is going to be controlled. Okay? It's not just going to be a diode. Okay? Most probably a MOSFET. Okay? To bring it down to 5 volts. So, you'll have your power processor, your power output. This is your iPhone. Okay. But in this we also have a this controller. Okay. This is your charger. Okay. This is what your charger looks like. And so we have seen the linear power supply. Okay. Just a recap on what we have done yesterday. We have looked at how a power system, power electronic system looks like with a block diagram. But we are interested in the power processor. Okay. This is where the inverters, MOSFETs, IGBT, transistors all are placed inside here. And then we have our controller. And then of course our load. So we have looked at linear power supply. Okay, and now just an introduction on switch mode power supply. Okay, so again you have the utility supply, rectifier from AC to DC, filter capacitor further reduces the ripple again. Then we have a high frequency transformer here again. Okay. Then we are again going to have a rectifier with a low pass filter before we give it to the load with a controller. Now if we reduce this circuit, we'll have something like this. Okay. Now to have a desired output at the load here, the desired output in this case is the voltage, DC voltage. For example, if you want to have, normally we want to have 5 volts, right? What if we wanted to have 6 volts with the same supply? Okay. How can we do that? We can do that by controlling this transistor here. Okay. So let me show you. Okay.
Does not work. Does not work anymore. Okay. Any case, just note this down. If we are going to use this switch, okay, so note down by operating the transistor, okay, this is the transistor. By operating the transistor as a switch at about 300 kilohertz, okay, this transistor I am talking about, we can obtain a desired DC output. Okay. Now we are going to see how. We'll come back to this. So, there's a time when the switch transistor is going to be in the on position, I. Okay. So you see here, this graph. When the transistor is on, we have a output here. And then this is our desired VD, okay? This dashed line. And then when it's at the off position B, the VOI comes down here. And then we continue on and off, on and off. So according to this, the average VD here will be obtained. Okay? And then of course this is the ripple. How is the ripple calculated? You see the reference, which is our VD minus VOI, you will have this ripple here. So this minus this, you have it here, and T of 0 minus the reference VD, we have here. This is our ripple. So what basically this circuit is doing is giving you a desired output. How? By looking at the ratios, okay, T on time and T off time. The longer the transistor is on, the higher the value of VD, okay? You will have a higher value of VD because it is on for a longer period of time. This is a common DC-DC converter, buck boost converter. If you have 5 volts, now you want to step it up to 10 volts. This is a common process that we use. Okay. So these are two very important formulas, general formulas. VOI is equals to VOI instantaneous, VOI instantaneous. Remember when it says instantaneous, what comes into your mind? According to time, at a particular time, right? So whenever you hear instantaneous, remember it says at a particular time. Say for example T 100 seconds. What is happening to the voltage? So that what instantaneous voltage actually means. So instantaneous VOI is equals to VOI plus V ripple instantaneous at according to that time. You will have your VOI T, where VOI is the average DC value of VOI. And then if you want to know what is the output voltage, you are going to use this formula. 1 over Ts and then integrate from 0 to Ts. Ts is the sample time in one sample. For example, from here, okay, to here. 1 Ts, 1 over Fs. You will integrate the whole Ts, VOI, you will find your VO. And in another case, it is just T on over Ts. As I have mentioned to you, the number, the period that the switch is on, that is the period you will get your voltage. Divide by your Ts, okay, times your VD. Simple formula to remember, you understand? Okay. Switch on time, divide by the total time for one period, times your VD will give you V output. Something to remember always, right? And then this is the harmonic factor, which we are not very much interested in. Now application in adjustable speed drives. Okay. Previously what we had is this, for pumps, right, for pumping motors to say in rural areas, okay, where the flow rate is not that good. They used to use this system here. They had a motor. Okay, this motor is normally a induction motor. This line input is voltage 415 or 240 volts. Then this motor is coupled to a pump previously, and the water is coming this way, input. To control the flow rate, previously we used throttling valves. Okay, anyone knows what a throttling valve is? The name speaks for itself, right? Throttling. Throttle, you know, speed. Throttling valve was used. But in this case, lot of energy was wasted. The motor was driven in one speed, right? If you just supply 415, your motor will only rotate at 1500 RPM. Nothing less, nothing more. Only 1500 RPM. So you cannot control the speed of the motor previously. The only way to control the flow rate was using the throttling valve, which had a lot of losses. And plus this throttling valve used to be changed a lot of times. This is just one of many examples. Now, in the case of power electronics, we can use adjustable speed drives. You see here? When we use adjustable speed drives, this driver here, okay, this is something that you are going to make towards the end of the semester. Okay, exactly this adjustable speed drive for induction motor. Okay, now this speed drive is normally made with the inverter. Okay, you supply your inverter with 4 and 5 volts, and then you control your inverter to have a desired output for the motor, to have a desired speed. Now once you have a desired speed for the motor, there is no need for a throttling valve. Okay, your pump will rotate at the speed you command it to rotate, rather than using the throttling valve manually. Okay, it will be all controlled with electronics. So very easy way. There is less wastage of energy. Using power electronics, motor pump speed is adjusted efficiently to deliver the required flow rate. Simple as that. Just one of, so energy conservation, conventional drive, adjustable speed drive, which we are going to use now. Now scope and applications of power electronics. You see, residential, where do we use power electronics? We have given an example yesterday, but look at the other examples. Refrigeration and freezers, right? You have inverter freezers now at home. Okay, even the control of the temperature is made by power electronics. Space heating, air conditioning, cooking. Okay, cooking if you have a electronic, okay, one. Lighting, electronics, personal computers, and other entertainment equipment. PS4, PS5, how many of you are waiting for PS5? No one? Oh my god. Commercial heating, ventilating, air conditioning, central refrigeration, lighting, computers, and office equipments. UPS, one of the most widely used power electronic devices nowadays is UPS. Everyone needs a UPS, okay? Because we don't want our PC to turn off when we are working. So UPS, we are also going to look at example of a UPS. What is a UPS? What does it do? You have IC from your source 240, you convert it to DC, store it in a battery, 12 volt battery. And then from that 12 volt battery, you are again stepping it up using an inverter to 240 volts IC. So all power electronics is just in one UPS. If you can get a UPS, go open it up, have a look. Yeah? You can find one in the lab. Industrial pumps, compressors, blowers and fans, machine tools, arc furnace, induction furnace, lighting, industrial lasers, induction heating, welding, so many things. Okay, you can become a technician after this. Go repair all these things. Transportation, traction control of electrical vehicles, not only electrical vehicles, but now power electronics is also more involved in trains, okay, electric trains, battery chargers for electric vehicles, electric locomotives, streetcars, trolleybuses, subways, okay, subways is there, automotive electronics including engine control, etc. Okay. Do you know that your vehicle also has a motherboard? Yeah, so electronics, power electronics. Utility systems, so many examples. Look at this, aerospace, space shuttle, power supply systems. Okay, you can apply for SpaceX. I tried, but no reply. Satellite power systems, aircraft power systems, all this, okay? All these are made from scratch according to the desired input and desired output. Always. You have an input, you have output. So you have to find out what are the components that you are going to use. And then telecommunications, battery chargers, okay, telecommunications, TFL, battery chargers, power supplies, okay, battery backups, okay, TFL has lot of battery backups, okay, that's where we need this. Normally what we do, we buy new chargers and backups, but you can also, refurbish them if you know the idea. So these are again very few of the many examples we have for power electronics. So you see, we have a very big scope for power electronics. Power electronics actually should not be just one course, it should be a whole program for power electronics. But we are going to compress it into a course, but you have to take the most of it, because only one course for power electronics is not enough. We should have power electronics 1, power electronics 2, right? But we have compressed it, so you need to work hard. Work hard times 2 to take everything. Because they are not very, there are few courses for power electronics, electrical engineering. If you are doing electrical engineering, you will understand, because previously it was electronics and electrical. Now it's both compressed together. So your choice where you give more attention to. Now power processors is a combination of converters. This is actually what I was talking about. For example, a UPS. Again, input converter 1 from AC to DC, store energy, your battery, and then from your battery to AC to DC. DC to AC, to your PC. Okay? In general cases. And then we also have inverters, right? We also have inverters in which you supply AC. Okay, you'll see this inverter in the lab. If you go to see my setup, you'll see these inverters, big inverters like this. What does this do? This takes in AC, converts it to DC. Now you have 414 volts AC coming in. This converts 414 volts AC to 550 volts DC. Now at this point, I have 550 volts DC. Normally in inverters, we use capacitor banks to store for energy storage, okay, for a limited time, not for a long time. And then from that DC 540 volts, I am going to control this inverter for a desired output at converter 2 to control my motor. So I have 540 volts DC here. Now I am going to control my inverter in such a way that I have a desired output according to which I want the induction motor to work. For example, if I want my induction motor to work at 500 RPM, I am going to control this converter here, this side. Okay? This you will see further in your simulations, labs and project. Okay, so note here, topologies require energy storage element which also decouples the input and the output side. So it decouples the input. So there is no relationship now. Once it is stored, the input has no longer has a relationship with the output, okay? Because it has already been, energy has already been stored. So we are more focused on this part, okay? After converting from IC to DC, and now from converting from DC to IC. That's what we are focusing more on. That's where we are going to look at what are the components that we are going to use. What are the characteristics of these components? Now, there's something to note on power flow through converters. Just a simple thing, from IC to DC, we are working in rectifier mode. But it's still a converter. Still a converter. Going from IC to DC, rectifier. From DC to IC, inverter. Just remember this. Maybe you can, but it's a very simple question to ask, no? No, it's not going to be a question. Converter in general term, an AC DC converter is shown here, rectifier mode operation, you know this. Now, this is what I was talking about previously. IC motor drive, utility supply, that's the grid, 415 volts, comes into the converter, okay? You transform it to DC, store it in the DC link, use this DC power to charge up this converter, control this converter to have a desired speed for the induction motor. This is a general block diagram for a IC motor drive. Okay? Maybe you should take a note of this. Maybe draw it in your books, or because this is very important. Okay. Now there is something also known as a matrix converter, which is no longer used actually, but it's good to know what a matrix converter is. Actually it is, it was made as a energy storage system, okay, but there were a lot of problems because you see this line, they were bidirectional, right? Bidirectional polarity of these switches. So the problem was that the current could flow in this way, also in this way. So if all these switches, this switch and this switch is on, there was always a short circuit, which blew up the matrix converter. So that is one of the reasons it is not used, but it's good to know. This is a very general structure, would benefit from bidirectional and bipolarity switches. Being considered for use in specific application where you needed storage of voltage in an inverter, but no, it's no longer used. But you should know that there is something called such as a matrix converter. Okay. You see, this is the power processor, just switches. something similar to the processor that we have in our PC, something similar, but that's in another level. This was not in that level, this was for power electronics, which didn't actually really work. You see, matrix converter, this is the power processor, utility supply, and this is where the voltage source was stored, just like a capacitor. B is the voltage source, for example. This is the utility supply, this was the voltage source. But we rather use a capacitor than to use a matrix converter. It's too complicated. Yeah. Now the interdisciplinary nature of power electronics. Again, this is from the book. This shows how vastly power electronics is used all around the world in all different disciplines: solid state physics, circuit theory, systems and controls theory. Okay, power electronics is used in 323, 312, all these courses that you have done previously. Signal processing, you are going to do this next semester, next year, right? 392. Electronics you have already done. Electromagnetics, most important. Electrical machines, electrical machines, and then power systems last semester. Yes, you have used so much power electronics, you remember, for your project. Good, you already know about power electronics. Electric machines, something that we are going to deal with again. This unit, in this unit, simulation and computing, etc. Everything revolves around power electronics. So you see how broad the subject of power electronics is. Yeah? So that's all for chapter 1. Just a brief introduction. I hope you have had a good introduction of what power electronics is. Now I want you to ask me questions if you have anything, or if you want to add on something, or maybe just tell me where else you think power electronics is used. Because you need to have a very good idea of what power electronics is before we move into power electronics. So someone, Amit, what do you think? Don't worry, we are a family here now, big family. Anything, something. Aircraft component, yeah. There are a lot of aircraft components. Yes, pilot control. You see, he just sitting here, the pilot just pressing buttons and the wings are moving. It's all power electronics. Bhavik? Bhavik, yes. Something? Yes, trains I have already mentioned. Something else? Something that I have not mentioned, you think is power electronics. We are dealing with power electronics. Marine, submarine, yes. Those things are deadly. My friend, something. Hybrid cars. I just recently changed my inverter. It's very costly. See, power electronics is very costly. Eh? That's why the larger the power electronic device, the more costly. Because, why? Why is this? In any power conversion process such as that shown, that we have seen before, we need to have small power loss. Okay? How do we have small power loss? If we have high efficiency. Okay? We need to have high efficiency to have less power loss. And the reason for this, okay, you can take note of this because this could be a theoretical question. The reason is the cost of the wasted energy. Okay? Who is going to pay for the cost for the wasted energy? We are going to pay. Okay? So we need to reduce, we need to have high efficiency. How can we have high efficiency? to make the device more compact. Second reason is the difficulty in removing the heat generated. Okay. Remember, these transistors are small devices. Okay, small devices like this, and you can have big devices like this. What are these transistors doing? On, off, on, off, on, off. On, off at 300 kilohertz. So fast. What happens? Heat is generated. So we need to dissipate this heat somewhere. Okay? How can, that's why this point says difficulty in removing heat. We need a larger heat sink. Not only heat sink, we need to forced air. You have to force air. We have to cool it in other ways. Okay? So many ways to cool it. This costs money in power electronics. And then finally the reason is size, weight and cost. Size we have to reduce, weight we have to reduce, and the cost we have to reduce. Chris, one example. Something you are working on. Ventilators. Yeah? It's kind of small power electronic, but it is a power electronic device. And then I have very bad memory, I forgot. Adeline, one example. One example. Anything. Something that you use every day, 24 hours. Phone. Okay? Just imagine in a mobile phone, it is more of electronics, but still transistors are involved. Just imagine how it works. You can dial a number, it outgoing call, receive a message, right? Take a photo of your friend. All these things, Viber, you can install it in your phone, you can install PUBG, play online. Very complicated. Yes, Krishan? Air conditioning unit, yes. Is this cool enough? No? We have to look for the controller, right? We are going to give a certain set voltage, set temperature, say 24, okay? 24 degrees Celsius, then it has to do its work. There is a sensor that is going to give feedback to the air conditioning unit saying, oh no, the temperature is 26. You have to work harder. Okay, compress more air and push it in. Then the aircon is going to do its work. It's all power electronics. Okay, that's enough for examples. Let's move to the next. So, very fast, eh? We have not even finished week 1, we have already finished week 1 lecture. I have to go to week 2 now. I hope I'm not too fast, eh? It's good, eh? So everyone has made their tutorial choice, lab choice? Yes? Okay. Chapter 2. Okay, overview of power semiconductor switches. First we are going to see a bit of introduction. Then we are going to start off with the most famous semiconductor device, diodes. Okay, uncontrolled. Thyristors, desired characteristics of a controllable switch, bipolar junction transistor, and monolithic Darlingtons. MOSFETs, okay, MOSFET, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistors, very famous. You must have already seen this in EE 212, yeah, something like that, or 225. GTO, not the car, eh? Gate 10 of thyristors. IGBT, something that we are going to look at the most. The most important inverter in the current era is IGBT, used everywhere. Everywhere. Very easy to control, very efficient, even the sizes, very variable sizes. Small ones you have, big ones you have, according to the power output that you need. 30 kVA, 40 kVA. Okay. This again you should go and see in the lab, IGBT. Okay. Or you will see it in your lab during one of the labs. Most control thyristors, comparison of control switches, drive and server circuits, justification of using idealized device characteristics, summary problems and reference. Now diodes, the most famous. Let's see if it start working. If I call them by the time this lecture will finish. Works. Oh, time. What's the time? How much time do we have? Oh, 7 minutes. Too much time. Now power devices, diodes and SCR. Semiconductor devices, we have three different types. First, the one which is uncontrolled. I remembered something. In your high school, have you ever been said you are uncontrollable? You remember? I think we were diodes, right? So, under uncontrolled, we have, remember everything that we are going to deal with now. Diodes are the small diodes that you have seen in 102 class, right? No longer. We are not going to use this. We are going to use power diodes. Okay? So, going to write down power diodes. And then we have, okay, three types. Uncontrolled, then we have semi-controlled. SCR. SCR is a semi-controlled device. What is a SCR? Silicon controlled rectifier. Okay, you know that. Then we have three, which is fully controlled. What are some fully controlled devices? GTO. What else? IGCT. Okay, we have IGCT, which is insulated gate commutated thyristor. Then we had, okay, remember this is all. In front of all these devices, you are going to put power. When we say power, we are looking at high current, high voltage. Okay, you will no longer be dealing with 1 amps, 2 amps. Okay, 1 amps, 2 amps if I fine, but not milliamps. More than 10 amps and voltage, no longer 5 volts, 10 volts, we'll be dealing with 240 to 415 volts AC and 540 volts DC, something like this. Power MOSFET, so BJT, again power BJT, and then finally my favorite IGBT. What is IGBT? I've already said. Insulated gate bipolar transistor. Again, it's transistor, right? You remember what a transistor is? Yes, just a simple, you have a gate here, something like this. Yes, you remember this? You used to find the pins, the legs, you look at the legs, you look at the notch. This was the introduction to transistors. Now we have so many types of integrated transistors, which can be used for high power devices. Now, diodes, first thing that we are going to look at. Okay. There are two basic concepts for diodes. There is a ideal condition. Okay. You know what ideal condition means? What is the ideal room temperature? Something, right? It's ideal. It's, if we say ideal room temperature, this is the room temperature that I am going to use in Suva, in Taveuni, and also in America or New Zealand, anywhere. Something ideal, something that is generic for everyone. So we have ideal characteristics, and then we have the normal characteristics, what it actually does when we are working with it. So for diodes, we require it to have a on state resistance of 0, okay? In ideal conditions, right? I am looking at ideal conditions. Ideal conditions. So I am going to say what I have written here. I am going to say R on is going to be 0. Resistance when it's on is 0. And resistance when it's off is going to be infinite. Normal cases, V4, ideal case, V4 is 0. And I leakage is also 0. So if we were to draw the ideal characteristic graph of this diode, we are going to have something like this, okay? So from here, okay, bold, let me see if I have something else here.